I think where we want to go is hopping over to the AL. And speaking of coastal elitists to a degree, the Toronto Blue Jays, Chris Bassitt, who are they East Coast? Do they count?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Right? They gotta be.
They play against
There's
the
like
East
a bay
Coast a
there.
lot.
I know there's like a bay in Toronto.
There's a lot of lakes.
I don't know if that's an ocean.
They have a coast.
The Blue Jays, Trev,
Okay.
and maybe we could tie it because they brought in two guys. One is your guy, an alpha of all alphas, Kevin Kiermaier, 1 year, $9 million.
Go Purdue, go.
Chris Bassitt, another Trev guy, actually.
Yeah.
Guys on different wavelengths from everything
My
you've
fingerprints
told me.
are all over.
Trev's Blue Jays. They brought in Bassitt, which, again, if you're going back into the starting pitching market that was available, I think he's got an argument to be one of the top 4 or 5 guys that were out there. Toronto brings him in. You got to love the fit. At the time, we said, talked about Toronto tax a little bit because normally you got to pay a guy a little more. In this free agency, I mean, it looks absolutely fine. And, man, I haven't looked at this in a while. Manoah, Gossman, Barrios, Bassitt. Your fingerprints are all over this team,
all
Trev.
over it.
I guess the interesting thing is we thought there was going to be a big swing somewhere in this Blue Jays lineup. They traded Teoscar. It hasn't happened yet. You obviously love Kiermaier defensively and what he can do out there. But, right now they have him slotted in the 9-hole. So I guess where are you at with these Jays signings, and do you think there's more coming?
We always talk about how right-handed they are, and we thought they probably would try to address that with the Teoscar trade. Doesn't seem like they really care too much, or they're not just going to do it just to do it. They want the right people there. So, if you're looking at the lineup, we obviously love the lineup. These guys can bang. The starting rotation, like on paper, I love it. I think that, again, I'm a Barrios truther, and he just didn't really have it last year. Like I hope he bounces back, because if you do Manoah, Gossman, and Bassitt, that's a really, really nice top 3. And then Kikuchi and Barrios are kind of the wild cards. Those guys can be really good. They can be a very, very good 4 and 5. Then you're talking about a very deep rotation. The Blue Jays roster is really good. It hasn't changed a ton. KK being in center field and allowing Springer to move to left, I guess.
He usually shifts over to right.
To right? That's right. Okay. We'll see how that plays out. I love KK, and what he can do on the defensive side. And I guess they don't need extra offense out there, and they're playing that game. Hey, let's go have some boys run it down out there in the outfield, and we have enough scoring potential in our offense already. So I like the roster a lot. I do. I think that this last year was supposed to be the movie. Maybe this year will be the sequel, a better sequel. Sometimes the sequel is better than the movie. Doesn't happen often, but it can happen, Jake. So we're looking for that in Toronto. The roster is really good. I even like the bullpen. I think they could add another bullpen piece, and that'd be really nice. But they're up there. They're up there in the AL East. I mean, you could make an argument that they have the best roster in the AL East.
It feels just off. And by the way, the world of baseball and how quickly it moves, Springer, we now associate him with the Blue Jays. Matt Chapman, your hot corner for the Blue Jays.
Love him.
The bottom 2 in this lineup now are currently listed as Whit Merrifield and Kevin Kiermaier.
I forgot that Whit Merrifield was over
right?
there.
So, Blue Jays, it feels like there's a move to be had. Are they in on Brian Reynolds? Are they in on...
they got all those catchers. We keep saying, are you going to trade one of these catchers?
It feels like they're a move away. And man, I don't want Blue Jays fans to take this as kicking them when they're down. I know they were one of the last teams in on Jose Ramirez before he re-upped with Cleveland. Remember when all that was happening? They were debating if they were going to trade or sign him. How perfect would that dude be on this team? Hey, Matt Chapman's a pretty nice payoff too. But I wonder what's next for them, because it feels like it's got to be a trade. They have assets. They're so right-handed. They're so talented. They're in a window, man. Manoah, Gossman, and then whoever breaks between Barrios, Bassitt, who Bassitt probably shouldn't even be compared to Barrios and Kikuchi for how good he's been in recent years. I don't know. it's kind of a what's next. Because if they roll this roster into next season, we're gonna be excited. There's a ton of talent, like you're saying. But, yeah, Jansen, Kirk, Gabriel Moreno, what happens there? And
I think that's going to happen. I think it has to happen.
In the words of, Joe's McFly, you buying or you selling? I guess I don't even know who's selling a big lefty bat. Like, every team needs that.
I think that catchers, especially guys that they have, these guys can all hit. And if you're a team that's looking for offense and a way to, find some value in your roster, it's like, let's go get a good hitting catcher. And they have 3 of them. They can get rid of one of them and bring somebody else in. I think we will see that before the season. I think that's almost a foregone conclusion. Now, who it's going to be, I don't know. Is it going to be Kirk? Is it going to be Jansen? I don't think they trade Gabriel Moreno because he's got so much control left that you'd probably want to keep him. And that could be your move, whether that's to bring in a bullpen guy or whether that's to bring in some sort of left-handed balance in the lineup. We'll see. I don't know. What position are you looking to upgrade in that lineup with a left-handed bat?
Yeah, I mean,
an outfielder.
In my head, it's been outfield.
A DH type.
I don't know if you want to pencil in Kiermaier every day. I think he's a guy that plays a lot. I mean, I think George Springer in recent years, if they could get him off his feet here and there. They moved Teoscar Hernandez. It was my Eddie Rosario theory. Like, rack up guys who have good stats. Hey, awesome. Good for you. Teoscar Hernandez was always in the middle of that line. Like, I think there's something more impactful. Eddie Rosario, when he was on the Twins, and he'd have basically an 800 OPS on the nose every year, he was batting third. It wasn't Eddie Rosario in the 6th hole or 7th hole, like, kind of behind guys. Like, you were game planning for Eddie Rosario. He was there. Teoscar was kind of the same. There was bigger dudes in front of him. But they still have to replace that void that was kind of left by him. And hey, I hope Danny Jansen broke out last year. The stats are pretty nutty. But right now, the bottom of that lineup, Whit Merrifield's he hasn't been the Whit Merrifield we remember from some of those big Kansas City years. Kiermaier, obviously, he does it on the other side, and he does it amazing on the other side. Lourdes Gurriel, he had a solid year last year, I guess. I don't know. The second half of that lineup, if you give me the lefty or switch hitter in the middle of this lineup and you slide everyone down a spot, you love the Blue Jays. Right now, it just feels like it feels a trade away. And I wonder, it's got to be with like another contender, right? Because a lot of the lesser teams, I don't know if there's dudes that are really being shopped.
Josh Bell would have been a great fit for this team. Kind of rotate him and Vladdy there at the DH. He can play first, but mainly he'd be thumping in your lineup for you. Obviously, they missed out on him, but something of that effect. I think that's what the Blue Jays would need. Some left-handed thump.
Max Kepler, he's been rumored in trade talks. Could he be
interesting
there?
It's interesting. Okay. There's a lot of ways they could go. I believe it's going to be one of the catchers. And even if it doesn't happen, this is already a very good roster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, Bo Bichette's stats, people they just need to go look.
Yeah.
Like, even with a semi-down year last year, but I mean, I don't know if you really even want to call it a down year last year. You still had an 802 OPS. Go find you some shortstops that have 802 OPSs. Not many of them. Okay? Career, he's at an 831. This guy's a banger. He's only 24 years old.
Oh,
he's been around forever. He's got 4 big league seasons already.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
He might have a payday coming. Sheesh.